Yesterday morning, I got up at 4 a.m. and caught a 6 o'clock flight to Detroit and then on to Boston to meet with the Taylor Ogden of Snow Bowl Capital. As you should expect, anytime you do something different and take a step into the future, something's going to go wrong. Well, the TSA apparently hasn't seen a lot of people come through with cameras and microphones and tripods and big light bulbs and so they made a real effort to check my stuff out and almost caused me to miss the flight. In the process of fooling with my camera, someone flipped the switch from manual focus, which I always use. I focus on this cup so that my face is in focus. They flipped the switch to autofocus. And so this first video that you're going to see, that I shot 3 videos there, is going to be out of focus. I didn't realize it until after we shot this 20-some minute video that my camera was on autofocus. I switched it for the second video, so I apologize up front. The quality of what was said and what was expressed is just too good to put in the can and not publish. So bear with it. My apologies again. This is a very brilliant young man. You'll get a better look at him in the second video that I put out. Okay, this is Taylor and Carrie in Boston for your benefit with Snow Bowl Capital.
Best of Us Investors presents Carrie Griegmeyer.
Okay, I'm in Boston, Massachusetts. Yes, I made this trip just for you, so you could meet Taylor Ogan of Snow Bowl. He runs a hedge fund, right?
Yep.
Okay, how long you been doing this?
3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
Taylor told me something that when I got here that I thought was very interesting. You don't own Tesla, you don't own Microsoft, you don't own Apple.
Our fund does not, no.
Why?
So no mega caps. We feel that our investors are typically high net worth individuals and family offices. They already have exposure to those mega caps, and they can buy those themselves if they want to. They don't need to pay us to buy Apple or Microsoft or Tesla. But we have to certainly still follow those companies to understand the broader space in which they are.
Is this common within hedge funds?
No.
Okay.
There's definitely some criteria.
Are you comfortable stepping out on the
Yeah. I
edge?
mean, we do things differently.
Okay.
And I think that it's better for our investors like hearing that because they like to know that, I'm not just going to be double dipping with Apple.
Okay.
But also what's going to become the next Apple is what we're more focused towards.
Okay.
That's our part of our philosophy.
That brings me to the topic that I wanted to discuss. First of all, I had something leaped into my. How old are you?
I'm 25.
25.
Yeah.
Wow. How cool. That isn't the world I grew up in.
Yeah.
25-year-olds. I was working for Purex, moving bleach on grocery store shelves at 25, and you running a hedge fund. Well, I was just born at the wrong time.
Yeah, people are living longer too.
Yeah.
Which we may talk about later, right?
Yes, we will. Okay, so where was I going with this? That you mentioned Apple, and you mentioned you don't own it, and I saw a YouTube video where you were being interviewed, and you were being asked what was going to be who was going to replace Apple as the largest company in the world,
most valuable. Yeah.
Most valuable, and what was your answer?
Well, it depends what year, but by 2050, I say a company called BYD, Chinese electric vehicle and battery company.
I'm familiar with BYD. I own it. In fact, I had to buy it, though, over the counter with a different ticker symbol than BYD. Why do you believe that's going to happen?
By 2050, in all likelihood, the largest company by market capitalization in 2050 does not exist right now. If I were to pick a company that does currently exist that's why I would pick BYD. The largest company in 2050 will have to encompass so many different aspects. It'll have to be, in this case, a battery company, an automobile manufacturer, potentially an autonomous vehicle fleet management company. Mm-hmm. It has to have all of those things. It's not going to be some small health company. It's not going to be a smartphone company. It has to have an entire ecosystem. And that's why Apple and Amazon and Tencent and Alibaba are among those top companies right now, because they do already have an ecosystem.
When I heard that, what I would have said was, your logic was, they're going to have to be both in the United States and China. And then my take on it was, they're going to have to be in India as well. And if you aren't present in all three of those by 2050, you don't exist. I mean, you're not even in the S&P 500.
Right.
And that's why I believe we're seeing Google and Amazon and Facebook make some heavy moves into India. Two of them aren't allowed in China. So that if I had been asked the question on the short term, I would have said Amazon. I would say Amazon will probably pass Apple sometime in the near future, particularly as Jeff has woken up and said we can generate some advertising dollars off of the point of purchase.
Right.
That was something I just didn't really understand. I mean, I buy everything on Apple. So I thought about it from the framework of, what if I could go into a store and I went in for something, and then there was someone standing there saying, well, look at this one, it's better or just as good, but it's cheaper. And Amazon wasn't doing that, but now they are.
Yeah.
So now in my poll when I did this, 48% of the people said Tesla. Why not Tesla?
Well, Tesla doesn't, right now, Tesla doesn't make its own batteries. Tesla only has two automobile factories in the world, and their Chinese factory is already exporting cars to Europe, which was never part of the plan. So is that a demand issue? They have secured the supply chains very well over there, and they've been around long enough in the United States and Fremont, California, to have be able to have pretty high margin vehicles. But really, they're an auto company, and they do some energy. It's a very small portion of their revenue. It's an automobile company, and I know people don't like to say that it's more than an automobile company, but it is. It's an automobile company. Now, where is it going to be in the future? It's just like Amazon in the beginning. It may be that it's not just a bookstore.
No.
It may actually be a data company. It could be an artificial intelligence company. It could be an autonomy company. But right now, it's an auto company. And that's where I think it should be valued right around there, and it's not.
So you feel it's overvalued?
I do feel it's overvalued.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's my largest holding. Are you suggesting I bail?
I mean,
and put it in BYD?
Yeah, I drive a Tesla, so I love the product, and that's what is difficult for a lot of people. When you drive these things, it's unlike anything you've ever driven. Mm-hmm. When you see how the CEO interacts with people, whether you like it or not, it's unlike any other company.
Right.
People really like that, but you have to see beyond just what the company is right now and the products that it offers, and you have to really understand its relative valuation in the market. Okay. And that's where I'm disconnected with it. Okay. I think a lot of people are too.
Let me give you my take. We had a conversation earlier how in 1929 there were 1,900 automobile manufacturers in the United States. Last time I counted, there are 3, including Tesla, and one of them was in bankruptcy about 10 years ago. I believe, like you, that if they stay an auto company, they will never achieve that kind of level. But I see them instead as a tech company, and they, like Apple, Amazon, Google, are gathering data. And I think that's their salvation. The other thing that I think that a lot of people don't recognize, in my case, I have $200,000 worth of depreciating assets sitting in my garage. I spend roughly 5% of my lifetime using them, and I then have to maintain them and I spend roughly another $15,000 a year maintaining them. I want them gone.
Yeah.
I want them gone. I want my phone. I can tap it, and I can have a Lamborghini, an electric Lamborghini, in my driveway in 15 minutes. I think that's where the world is going, and I think you drive Teslas. Will you be okay not owning a car?
Yeah, I don't want to own a car.
Okay.
I think
all right, we're on the same page.
This will actually probably be one of my last cars.
And you're
hopefully,
25?
Yeah.
I'm 76. How did we end on the same page?
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is, if we're talking about autonomous vehicles, that's one thing. Private car ownership is another thing, and one begets the other potentially. It may be where it's, as autonomy takes time to really evolve in a level 4, level 5 environment, then that may be another decade out. So in the meantime, though, yeah, a lot of people, it doesn't make sense to own a car. Your 5% is actually very high. Okay. The average person in the United States, I believe it's around 2.5%.
Is that right?
Yeah, so and the average person drives about 10,000 miles or less every year. I mean, I drive my car maybe 6,000 miles. It does not make sense. I live in a city. I should not own a car.
No.
But I do want to understand the technology around it. And that's the only reason why.
Wow.
I'm the only one of my colleagues that actually owns a vehicle. So everyone else owns
your vehicle.
They do take it out a lot. Yeah. But everyone else relies on scooters, electric scooters, or bicycles.
Okay.
And that's definitely an urban sense of modernity. But that's sweeping into the suburbs as well. And so if you think about it, yeah, if you only need a car 4 days a week, and the rest of the time, and that's why these companies like Turo, where you can rent your car out to other people, they're very popular. And so that's probably going to happen before, in a larger, widespread manner, than true autonomous vehicles where you can just summon it in the suburbs and it can drive you anywhere you want.
Okay.
But either way, they're both coming, and it's going to improve people's lives.
Yeah, almost definitely. It's just you got to get it past us baby boomers' love affair with automobiles. I know you don't know this. When General Motors and Ford used to introduce their new models, always in October, they would put tarps over their back lots. And my dad and I would go down and try to peek to see what the new models looked like. We don't do that anymore.
Well, we do it with drones.
Okay.
That's still being done. Yeah,
Okay.
certainly.
All right. Well, the love affair of automobiles, I think, is probably going to die with my generation, and I think it's a good thing. So, if I want to stay in the EV space as an investor, and I'm going to downsize my holdings in Tesla and treat it more as a momentum play.
Sure.
And if I want to acquire something that's of the future that might give me exponential returns over the next 3 to 5 years in the EV space, what would you recommend?
In terms of a company and
Yeah.
in terms of a stock, it's not investment advice, but BYD is definitely the best positioned because it already has the building blocks that Tesla is trying to even copy.
Yeah.
They really do. And just because most people haven't heard of it, it's not an excuse for it not to grow exponentially like Tesla has. Think about this. If BYD's market capitalization, right now it's about $96 billion. If it were to get to Tesla's, the same returns that Tesla would need to match those returns from where its current market cap is right now, it would have to be bigger than the biggest company in the world, and that's Apple, $2.2 trillion. So what do you think is more likely? BYD, that already has everything, to just catch up to measly Tesla right now, around $600, $700 billion valuation, or Tesla to grow into over a $2 trillion company in the next 2 years.
When you say it has everything, explain. I know a little bit about it, but
Sure.
Explain what that you mean by that.
So for longer than any other company in the world, BYD has been the largest electric vehicle battery manufacturer in the world. They also likely produce the battery in your cell phone. It's a battery company at its core. It was started in 1995 by a battery chemist, Wang Chongfu. And many people compare him to Edison. And you don't hear those comparisons with Elon Musk. Edison didn't walk around like Elon Musk walks.
No.
So so it is a battery company, and in 2003 it bought a defunct automobile manufacturer, and it started making cheap internal combustion engine vehicles with the inevitable goal of making electric vehicles. And it started making electric buses, the first real ever mass-produced electric bus, electric garbage trucks, electric dump trucks, electric street sweepers, airport vehicles. It has grown into the largest electric vehicle fleet by far. It's massive.
And they are in California.
They also,
And
they have a
the
manufacturing-
electric buses, as I understand, that are in New York City are theirs.
No, not any in
No?
New York City. The whole MTA is a nightmare for them. They did
Okay.
have an office in the Bronx,
Okay,
but they actually
so
closed that.
do they have a fleet of them in the United States?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Most electric buses in the United States
Okay,
are going
that's
to be
what
BYD or Proterra, but like Stanford's whole entire fleet, Denver's a lot of Denver's fleet, Atlanta has a lot. But yeah, now you're starting to get these pockets of, you have to think about where the incentives are to actually buy these things because they're not cheap.
Yeah.
But yeah, so BYD makes electric buses. That's what a lot of people know them for. People also know it for Warren Buffett buying at the time 9.9% of the company.
Does he still hold his shares?
He has not changed any of his holdings in it, so
Okay.
which is
All
unlike
right.
him.
Yeah.
You know, typically
Yeah.
he dips in there.
Yeah.
But no, it actually broke one of his rules, which is he doesn't buy a company that he doesn't understand completely.
Yeah.
And so this one was Munger and Bill Gates. The three of them flew out to China just to see BYD. I think they stopped at Dairy Queen on the way.
Oh.
And
Sure.
actually, I know they did. There are pictures of it.
Okay.
But so they Bill Gates told Munger, you got to get Warren Buffett out there. He has to see it. And the three of them are friends. They golf all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And they fell in love with this entrepreneur, Wang Chongfu. And I think that's really important quality to a company. Something that we look for a lot is, are these companies founder-led? And actually,
Yes.
very few of our holdings are not founder-led.
That's
we think
something
that
I believe in, too.
yeah, Apple would be an exception if
Yeah.
we were to own it. You know,
Yeah.
Tim Cook really extended that vision from Steve
Yeah.
Jobs, and he was there in the beginning, and so that kind of stuff. But yeah, founder-led companies, there's something about them
Well, you know it. You own your company.
Yeah.
There is no work schedule. You do what you got to do
Yeah.
as long as you got to do it, and it's you.
Right.
It's like being a father or a mother.
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I hope not.
Share with me. It is. Okay. Well, I saw an interview. What's her name? The CEO of the
North America, BYD?
Yeah.
Yeah, Stella Lee.
Stella Lee.
She
made a
is
statement
awesome.
that really, I thought it was so brave. She said, we recognize that we have to overcome the fact that Americans think if it came from China, it's garbage. It's less. And we have to build a brand. And how that is exactly what I think will happen as they do build the brand here. They build the brand in China, and then they take it to India and around the world. And I agree with you. There's going to be no stopping them.
Keep in mind the name of BYD. It stands for Build Your Dreams.
Yes.
Those are English words.
Yes.
That's very uncommon for a Chinese company.
Okay.
Like, for example, NIO, N-I-O, they have Blue Sky coming and everything. But they're not, they're all of these names are really Chinese names, and if they have acronyms, then that'll find their way into the tickers of the companies. But BYD is Build Your Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And in Chinese, BYD doesn't really mean anything
Okay.
of importance. So it really is Build Your Dreams. And that's what Wang Chongfu wanted to do. He wanted to build his dreams. And so when Stella talks about BYD moving into the United States, it's not just, and this is what is so awesome about her, they see it as an entire team effort from Chinese automobile companies. Because if one of them, they only really have one shot at it. Because right now, no one knows what we think about Chinese cars. They've never sold here.
No.
Some of them are manufactured over there, but very few, especially with all of our unions and everything, which,
Mhm.
by the way, BYD is unionized already. Tesla's not even unionized, right?
No.
So they have a lot of advantages in that Lancaster facility in California outside of Los Angeles. But yeah, what Stella says is that they really only have one shot. And if they blow it, then they blow it for everyone. They blow it for NIO, for Lee, for Xiaopeng. They blow it for everyone for maybe 50 years plus. And right now, the electric cars in China are The reason I own a Tesla here is because it's the only car, it's the best car that I can drive in terms of technology. I'm actually moving our entire company over to China because we have to be there to really understand everything. And I know I will drive at least 12 different cars and really compare them if I even buy a car, if I own a car there.
Yeah.
And the cars there are so much better. Already, the electric cars, the other cars are not. So we know that the technology is superior over there. The manufacturing quality, actually, if you compare a Tesla made in California, my Tesla was made in a tent in a parking lot. But in Shanghai, Gigafactory 3 for Tesla is one of the most advanced manufacturing facilities to ever exist. So the quality over there is much better. And that's something that shocks a lot of people. You would think that it would be the opposite, right?
Yeah.
It's made in America. And certainly with a lot of products, maybe still it's some of the cheap products. Made in China is made in China, as it kind of always has been.
Mm-hmm.
But the Chinese have a very, they're the new Germans in terms of, or the Swiss in terms of manufacturing prowess. Yeah, it's very, I've seen some of the facilities, the rates of automation. That's something in the United States. Here's something funny. In the United States, if you have an auto factory, or really any type of advanced manufacturing facility, a lot of times, like Ford, they try to brag about how many people are working in that factory.
Right.
In China, it's the opposite. They try to brag about how few people they have working in that in that factory and the rate of automation. And so that's another thing that why we do things a little differently. We look at rates of automation. I don't know anyone else who looks at it this way.
You mean in
terms of factories, yeah. In terms of just how we see different companies and where they're at technologically in their manufacturing abilities. And so if we see a manufacturing rate of higher than 94%, depending on the industry, with cell phones you want it a little higher, but about 94, 95%, that's a key indicator that that factory, first of all, it's running 24/7.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even turn the lights on. I've seen many of these. I've visited many of these factories. Yeah, it's actually very hot.
It's all robotics.
It's all robots. You actually can't even get in there. There are shields that block you from getting in there.
Yeah.
And you can maybe see a video here and there, but to really see it and experience it, it's incredible. So I want a product that's made by those things. I don't want a product with someone hand screwing them in, right?
Wow.
So that's why we know that the products of the Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers are better. So how do they bring them here? And that's where comes the brand. And so could BYD do it with the BYD brand? I don't know. In fact, it seems like they're actually leaning towards no. They're going to have a different brand.
Okay.
And we don't know the name of it yet, but it's going to be a completely different name, something that no one's ever heard of, and they're going to establish it just here. Now, why would they want to do that? Well, is the American auto market that big? It's pretty big, but nothing compared to China, India, Europe, right? Mm-hmm. It's very small comparatively. The reason they want to is if they can get a car that sells very well here, just like clothing that sells here, just like electronics that sell here, then it will sell like hotcakes over there.
Okay.
So it's kind of a backwards thing, but they actually don't care that much about the U.S. auto market as a whole.
Wow.
So that's going to be really interesting. I don't know, will we see Chinese electric vehicle dealerships all over? Or will we just see a few in California and they'll get the celebrities to drive them? I don't know. I hope for the former. But
Japan certainly did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, and again, looking back at that, it was price point. Japan came and gave us an alternative.
Yep.
I remember the Datsun coming over, and they wouldn't hold paint. After 2 years, you have a Pinto of a car, but obviously they learned. That's interesting that you would say that they may or may not, and you don't think it's on the top of their priority.
I know it's not. We talk to these companies all the time.
Okay.
It's not, and this is something that frustrates people, especially when you're investing in these companies. People always say, well, I've never seen a Neo. I've never seen a Xiaopeng. I've never seen a BYD. Maybe I've seen a bus, but unless you were in China, and they sell in a few other countries. They're testing the waters, but China is their core focus. China also has a much greater sense of urgency when it comes to curbing pollution. The United States does not, right? We don't have pollution like China does. So the government is behind it, and so everything is just, all focus is towards electrifying their fleets. In this country, we have half of our politicians that can't even agree on climate change as human cost, right? So it's definitely a little, you can't compare it. And so the only reason that they are looking at the U.S. market is, again, to test the waters and to see, do we even need a new brand? Is our brand overseas powerful enough to now come over here? Because maybe Neo's is. I don't think BYD's is, because they just had this long reputation of building like $6,000 new cars. But Neo, already celebrities over in China are driving those, so maybe they don't need a new brand. But some of them will and some of them won't. But I think that really they're focusing on this because they just want to sell a few. And if they can, again, sell a few here, then they can sell in China anywhere.
I know a lot of my viewers are asking the question right now, is Neo going to rebound?
I mean, compared to BYD, I think Neo, Li Auto, Xiaopeng, Geely, all of those companies, they move the same way. BYD and Tesla do not typically. For a while there, they did, when there just wasn't any news. Weak auto sales globally and everything last year. But now BYD has broken out. I mean, BYD is up 60% in the last month. Tesla is up, maybe 2%? I have to check today. So, I mean, there's been separation there. But Neo, Xiaopeng, Li, they typically, they follow the same trend. So you kind of have to have all three of them, really. And their sales they're growing. But when we actually look at the sales in China from those three, we look at them in a stacked bar graph. So we basically compare the three of those versus one BYD, one Tesla.
Okay.
Right? So in terms of just how many sales. So let's say that BYD did 19,000 sales last month, and Neo, Li, Xiaopeng did 16,000. Right? BYD single-handedly and Tesla single-handedly are doing more in sales deliveries than all of those combined. And actually, there are a lot of other startups that just very small. So I wouldn't say that there is. I'm not super bullish on Neo right now.
Okay.
But also think about their total addressable market. It's not nearly. They're still very expensive cars. I mean, BYD just last night came out with the new details on its car that will cost $18,000. An electric car. It goes the same range as a Neo. Now, it definitely does not look like a Neo.
No.
But if we're just talking about Neo as an auto company, Neo does not actually even make its own cars. It does not make its own batteries. It does have the battery swapping stations, which I actually do like. A lot of people do not. I see actually a lot of potential in China for that. And they also they do battery leasing, so battery as a service, BaaS.
Yeah.
And I really like that model, and that's one that BYD is adopting. But again, they buy their batteries from CATL, so they don't even make their own batteries. They have no ambition. They are building a factory, but they have no ambition to make their own batteries. They have no ambition to. Everything is just kind of a packaged car. It's a really nice looking car. It's a lot of fun to drive, but it's difficult for me to see that stock moving the same way as BYD with almost 250,000 employees.
I've learned a lot here in these last couple minutes.
Good.
If my viewers want to learn more about Snowball Capital, where do they go? You only deal with accredited investors.
Yes.
Explain to us what that is.
So you have to have a net worth of over a certain amount and a certain amount in assets. I think a lot of people know if you have a few million in your bank account, you're typically an accredited investor.
Right.
And actually, no, certainly people don't even realize that they are.
Right.
And you get exposure to other types of things. Something about us is that for a lot of these companies that we focus on, you actually can't buy them as an American individual. You have to buy them through a fund. And so that's what we do. If you want to buy some of these companies like Hikvision, iFlyTech, I mean, these are some of the most advanced companies. CATL, the battery company we were just talking about. If you want to buy their A shares, then you have to have a fund in China, and they just relax the rules. And that's another reason that we're moving to China, so we'll be able to buy these things even better. So that's typically how investors find us.
Wow.
But yeah, snowballcapital.com, not Snowball. I think a lot of people make that mistake.
Yes.
But Snowball, I think it's on the mug.
Yes, it is.
But a lot of our investors are typically older individuals or family offices, and they may not see the same way, maybe like yourself, as other people their age. They see maybe China as a tremendous opportunity. They see data sharing as something that's good. They see electric cars, even though you don't get the roaring of the engine. That's the future, right?
Yes.
And so there are not a lot of people, unfortunately. I mean, there certainly are enough, but it's difficult for people to find this stuff, and we actually don't like to call ourselves a hedge fund. Typically, that has a negative connotation these days. We do things very, very differently.
Okay.
I mean, we tour every single factory that we even, and headquarters of every company we even think about investing in. I mean, that alone gives you such a different perspective.
Yeah.
But we can do that because we're young, right?
Okay.
We don't have to worry about our families and dogs at home and everything. So we're just, we haven't been on the road in the last year because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
But so we do things very differently.
Well, I think that's going to open your eyes up to a very different idea of an investing. And we're going to have some more conversations with Snowball Capital. And I want to dig a little deeper here. But we're going to cut it short here. Again, if this is the kind of thing you'd like to see more of, you need to subscribe. You need to go to bestofusinvestors.com and give me your name and your email address, and I'll send you a invitation to our Discord. And this guy's going to be on our regular speaking list as often as I can get him. I'll continue to fly to him. I'll even come to China. I spent a month in China.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to go back.